the channel of BW Business World and BW Marketing World. We have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Gunjan Khetan, CMO, Perfetti Van Melle India.
Thank you so much for getting me on the platform. I've always been really a big fan of BW and the various platforms it has, and I've had a long connection with you guys. So appreciate I get this platform to talk about my business. Thank you.
Mr. Khetan, if I start with your journey, particularly over 2 decades in the industry, um, almost completing 3 years with Perfetti, 12 years with Reckitt, over 12 years with Reckitt earlier. How has been the journey so far? And plus, adding to that, what is that one thing that has transformatively changed in the last 2 decades?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. I got into work straight from college. I had no experience. So all my foundation learning of at work has happened with Heinz, which was the erstwhile Heinz India. So I spent about 7 years there going through the ropes, learning the details of what brand management means. And I'm truly grateful to all my seniors there. And then with Reckitt, I had the opportunity of having a very different kind of learning, which is to go around the world and experience different cultures, different setups, different categories, different cultures, and different consumers, right? So that's been a very different learning. And then coming back to India when India is shining has been a great experience for me. Last 3 years have been absolutely phenomenal. This is the India that I returned to is a very different India than the one that I left. It's much more confident, it's much more capable, it is much more aware, and therefore it is very, very important that you put the best foot forward for this India. So that's been the larger change I've seen. The culture has changed, the consumers have evolved, the information is much more widely available. There is much more disposable income with the audiences today to experience whatever they need to experience, which was very different from my younger days. So yeah, it's been drastically different and interesting as a learning for me just coming back to India.
Now, coming back to Perfetti, like nearly 30% of the business comes from the premium SKUs. What is that line between affordability as well as agility, as you said? Because Perfetti also has rupee 1 candy, which is massively spread out, and it also has price points like rupees 10 to 20. Where is the difference coming? Are you what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so let's to be able to answer that, let's take a few steps back. I think this journey around premiumization started back in 2018, 2019, and the bigger packs used to contribute only 5% of our portfolio. I think we have traversed a long distance since then, and today this part of the portfolio contributes almost 1/3 of our business, and we expect this business to grow faster than mono business. And it's been a conscious, it's a deliberate strategy, it's a conscious move from the organization to be able to invest behind the bigger packs. Now, we need to differentiate between two concepts. One is premiumization, the other one is upgrading. Thankfully, our portfolio is such that we have been able to do both successfully. With premiumization, we have been able to bring new technology, new innovations to India as thoughts, as concepts, including the entire launch of Chupa Chups as a range. And that has helped us premiumize the jelly category, for example. And then there's something called uptrading, where we've nudged the consumers to move from single mono pack consumption to bigger pack consumption, which also gives them convenience, gets them better value, etc. So we've been able to straddle both premiumization and uptrading quite well. At the same time, I think mono is a big business. It's a high volume driver business. It is a part of the business that helps us continue to drive penetration with our audiences. This is not a category which is very highly penetrated. Some parts are, but other parts are not. So penetration continues to be a big agenda for us, and therefore mono as a trial pack, mono as an impulse pack is not just a volume driver, but a conscious strategic move as well for us. The larger choice for us is how do you balance these two strategies, and how do you therefore, what is your support model look like? And that is what we continue to fine tune every single day on how do you put money behind generating penetration versus generating a better value per transaction, or upgrading consumers, right? So that's one thing that we continue to do, but I would assume this 30% today would be much higher in a few years for us.
Okay, now, when we talk, I mean, in a company filing, it stated that the cash habit of that 1 rupee is actually highly helpful. It's penetrating towards it, but you're also trying to push 70% into the premium SKUs. So, if Perfetti we see as a whole, is it moving towards is it a premium area, or are you going for a mass market as well? Is it a premium market or a mass market?
It's actually a bit of both. As I said, we cannot leave the mono pricing. Now, what that mono pricing is, it was 50 paisa 10 years back, now it's 1 rupee, right? So we cannot leave the mono transaction out, because this is an under-penetrated category and we need to continue to drive penetration. And the second point is it's an impulse category, right? So, and the third point is it's a category that's consumed by kids. So kids don't have that much money to continue to trade at big price points, right? So mono will continue to be a big part. The other piece is it's a volume driver, and that's why it also keeps our factories running, right? So that gives us operational efficiency. So that's a very, very big part. The other part is premiumization and upgrading. I think it's also important at the same time that we continue to nudge our consumers who are loyal users of our brand to move to a bigger pack, right? Because it's easier for them, it's much more convenient for them, it's better value for them as well. So these are two strategies that work together. So you get in new users coming in through the mono pricing, but at the same time, the loyal users who've been with the brand, with the product for a long time, should be able to upgrade to a bigger pack. So I think both these strategies will have to work hand in hand for us to be both successful from a top line perspective, but at the same time deliver the right profits to the organization.
Now, if I talk about Center Fresh in particular, you recently, released a India Overthinking report. Now, it talks about mental health. Center Fresh having the legacy of report, you also came up with the tagline "Dimag pe rakhe laga." How do you aspect that point where even a sensitive topic like mental health comes with humor, and how do you balance it without making it dismissive or irrelevant for people?
Yeah. So first clarification, I don't think the business or the brand is looking at mental health at all. I mean, what we are trying to articulate is overthinking. Okay, mental health is a far more serious topic and needs the right people and the right conversation. And I'm sure that is being done by the right people on the right forums. What the brand is trying to do is take the aspect of overthinking in a manner that is relevant to today's youth, and that is why you see the way the tonality with which the brand has approached the conversation is much more quirky and fun, right? Because that is the personality of the brand, and to that extent, when you think about overthinking, it's a necessary evil. We all participate in that, and it is something that exists. We all have multiple inner voices inside us, and I know I'm guilty of it, for small things, thinking about multiple aspects on whether it will go right, whether it will go wrong. All that plays out in the mind. So all that the brand is trying to do is to say that overthinking is fine, but let it not cripple you into inaction. Okay, so you take a pause, you eat Center Fresh, you refresh your mind, and get the move on, right? So that is where the brand also comes in the larger conversation on overthinking. So it's not mental health, definitely, but it is overthinking is something that we all are guilty of, and and I think it's quite relevant not just for us, but especially the younger generation that is today built and grown on digital media, where they're constantly on social media and they're thinking about, should I post this? Is this the music I need to use? Is this angle of mine right? Is among the 50 pics of that I've taken, which is the best one that I should post? What will my friend think? Is this angle right? Is my profile right? And all those stuff. So it's the brand is approaching this discussion from that perspective. Things that happen in our life, small things where we overthink, not the big ones. The big ones probably even deserve overthinking, but these small things where you just chew a gum, refresh your mind, and move on.
Then it says दिमाग पे रखे लगाम.
Exactly. Yeah.
So center fresh is the one to keep
Yes.
your mind in place.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Khetan, if I move forward with it, like with Perfetti, again the 1 rupee chewing gums, rural India is a very core backbone. Again, because of the cash habit or the penetration that we have there, but also Perfetti looks at the youth, Gen Z particularly, Gen Alpha now. They have been rising, they have their own choices. How do you cater to those both markets? Because one is a complete rural segment and second is a urban setting where they are privileged, they have everything possible. How do you balance the two without alienating any of them?
Yeah, and I think a very interesting question. I think most of our brands, thankfully, are built on very fundamental thinking and insights that cut across all age groups, all town classes, and all demographics. So, when I, for example, think of a brand like Center Fresh, this is a brand that promises freshness. Okay. Now, this is a benefit that is relevant both in metros as well as in rural towns. Now, we have dimensionalized it till a few years back as social confidence. Okay. Now, this is again an insight that is relevant both in a college in Mumbai and versus an interaction that's happening in some village between a boy and a girl, right? So that has been the power of some of these brands, and that's why they've scaled so fast to the size they have. For us, I think this urban-rural thing is more about how do we leverage the right content and executions on the right platform. Okay, so in case of urban India, I would look at things like, say, Paytm or digital, etc. In case of rural, maybe go a bit TV heavy or some other aspects. And the digital platforms could also be very different than what you have the Instagrams of the world in urban India. So those are the nuances that we bring in from a platform choice perspective, from that impact RTG, from the money, the split of the money between TV and digital that we do. So those adjustments is something that we do, but inherently we don't make any conscious distinction between the urban and the rural audience. The content and the tonality may change, but the messaging and the brand promise still remains the same.
Okay, now on that line, as you said that in rural India you go a little heavy. Uh, with in the urban areas, this more digital mix that is being used. Now with a diverse portfolio of Perfetti, particularly with Center Fruit, Center Fresh, Big Babool, Just Jelly, Alpenliebe, Chupa Chups. How do you fragment the media mix in all of it, and how do you make it distinctive of each other, because they are all showcasing some different aspect altogether? How do you fragment the media?
Yeah, so first of all, a lot of these brands play in different subcategories of confection. That's a big advantage that we have, and therefore a consumer's expectation from as benefit from these categories and brands are very different. The third thing is we've had the luxury, at least I have had the luxury, that people who have worked before me have been able to build very strong, well-defined, well-positioned brand right? To that extent, a consumer understands that this is what Center Fresh stands for, which is a fresh minty gum, versus fruit, which is a flavorful gum, which transforms my mood, versus a Happy Dent, which is a functional gum that gives me sparkling teeth, versus a Chupa Chup, which is a sweet and sour product that allows me to have fun in even non-fun moments, versus an Just Jelly, which is a fruity jelly which just helps me unwind, versus eclairs, which is a chocolate-filled eclairs, which is purely indulgence and I can just binge on it and relax. And so all these brands have had the fortune of being very sharply defined, against a sharp audience, against a clear benefit, against a particular opportunity space, right? So that has been one of the big advantages that we've had. And then we also, when we think about media choices, when we think about how to invest, when we think about which brands to put money on, we work with all our data that we have, and essentially we divide our brands into grow, build, compete, and ignore, right? So these are 4 segments that we plug our brand, and depending on which segment which brand falls into, then we decide what is the investment that's going behind which brand, and what is the money and what platforms and what audiences, etc. So there is a method to this madness, with the intent that we invest behind the right brands, the brands that are going to really are more future forward and are going to incrementally drive growth for the organization. And in a way, this is the active portfolio management that we do here.
So, if I may ask, like the fragmentation between traditional and digital media, and also quick commerce. Again, in a company stated, it has mentioned that there's a 5x growth with the collaboration of Big Basket, and thanks to quick commerce, it is actually helping out. How do you differentiate? How much of your percentage goes into digital, traditional, quick commerce, and now, if I may say, even experiential marketing activations that are taking place?
Because of the nature of our brands, and some of our brands go so deep down in India, brands which have almost 4 million distribution points, okay, it is important for us to be able to reach those many audiences. So TV tends to play a big role in our portfolio somehow. So I would say, as a thumb rule, largely about 60% goes behind TV, 20 to 30% goes behind digital. We also do about anywhere between 5 to 10% on experiences and creating a surround sound around any activation that we are doing. Performance marketing for us is less because we don't have a D2C backbone. We have presence on quick com and marketplaces and e-grocers. We do spend money, but that business is still fairly small because of some structural issues with the category, but it's a business that's growing very fast. Okay, so we tend to invest lesser there, but broadly this is how we split our money.
Campaigns like Zuban Pe Rakhe Lagam, or there was like you're doing absolutely new things. Perfetti is actually bringing new campaigns, either be it for Chupa Chups, or be it for Center Fresh, or be it for Center Fruit. So, if I may start with, you recently, did a generative AI full power packed campaign with the Center Fruit. How did that work? How do you see AI personalization at scale, AI or personalization at scale, going towards the marketing campaigns? Because it's less that we see generative AI being used in the campaigns, but with Perfetti, we are actually seeing that causing interest, causing different thoughts, mind processes to come into it. How did you evolve with that, and where do we see generative AI further?
Yeah, so I think Gen AI is going to play a big part. I mean, there's no denying that. Unfortunately, there's not been many use cases in CPG industry of Gen AI, and that's been a challenge for us as well. We always also look out to see if someone who's done great work, and is there a way we can get inspired by that work. So somehow CPG as an industry has not been able to do too much work with AI. The third thing is, as you were mentioning, the work that we did on Center Fruit, which is I think one of the big opportunity areas we realized, and we were struggling with honestly for about a year and a half, is a large part of audience of Center Fruit sits in media talk places where there's no TV, there is hardly any data reach, and there is no smartphone. So how do you reach out to them if everything is switched off? And this is where we started having that conversation with our tech partners, with our agencies, and that's how we discovered there's this solution where you can take the old, if you remember the IVR campaigns that used to happen, where someone calls and you press a button and then you press the next button and you hear pre-recorded message. We have just flipped it on its head and we said, boss, now you will have an AI agent on the other side which will interact with you like a normal human being and will learn from the questions you ask and will give you the smart answers. So nothing is pre-recorded. You can have a normal human communication with this agent on the other side just by pressing one button. Okay, so I think it's a phenomenal work done by the brand team, Waymaker as well as Google team, and I think the prices will be much better for each and all of us, because right now, we being the early adopter, the scale is not there, and it's a costly proposition. But what this tech needs today is scale.
So probably with India coming further, we'll need the costing will be more equipped, so people are using it more, because I think this campaign also focused a lot on personalization, a lot of localization, particularly because we went to the rural India where people actually don't know maybe English or even Hindi particularly, so they can speak in their own language.
Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully, just hoping for the best then.
Yes, yes, yeah. Hopefully, we can do more such experiments and new experiments using Gen AI, and yeah, we always look out on the lookout. So if anyone's watching, they've got a great idea, please send it through.
My particular last question, that um, Perfetti has had a legacy in itself. Zuban pe lakhe lagam. I think I have said this in this interview like 3-4 times already. But do you think these taglines, these jingles, still can make that impact anymore because of the newer generation changing in?
Yeah, I personally believe that jingles as a creative tool are relevant across generations because of their high memorability. Now, I mean, we as humans have evolved as storytellers, okay? And this is ingrained in our heads because that is how we have evolved as humanity over millions of years. Now, jingles are a great way of capturing that story in a nice, good essence. And the ability for people to really like stories and connect with jingles is not going to go away. What you're raising is a good challenge. Fragmented attention and constant engagement with various platforms, digital media, etc. What is the memorability of some of these? And that is a task that the brand team has to ensure that it is less about the jingle you had, but more about how can you make it more relevant for the youth today. And I've been fortunate enough to work in the last 2-3 years on brands that are iconic, that have had iconic jingles. And then the challenge is, how do you reinvent these brands, these jingles, these positioning for the new audience? And to that extent, the work we did, Zuba Pe Rakhe Lagam, and we thought we'd try to reimagine that idea, that campaign, that positioning to today's audiences, and that's how we came up with overthinking as entry point for the brand, and therefore a re-articulation of that jingle from Zuba Pe Rakhe Lagam to Dimag Pe Rakhe Lagam, right? So I would not give up that jingle, but probably make it much more resonant with today's audience, because I still feel there is a merit in that memorability and pithiness of the sign of lines.
And in your, you've been with Perfetti for 3 years. In your own leadership in this company, we have seen Perfetti growing drastically, 28%, if I may say, in the last 2 years. What move have you made that significantly helped the business grow, including the jelly segment, gum segment, and the candy segment?
Yeah, it's an answer of many answers. As I was saying, we focus a lot on active portfolio management. Where does your money get you the best returns? To be able to look at each of these segments in its own merit, be dispassionate about how to invest, where to invest, etc. That's one piece. Investing a lot on the brands, new campaigns. So you would have seen the last 2 years we've come up with new campaigns on each of our brands. So building a new narrative, a much more culturally resonant story on each of our brands is another reason. A laser focus on outpacing and out championing the market, right? So market share is a key KPI for us across all brands. Um, Investing behind new platforms, okay, whether it's TV, whether it's digital, whether it's AI, whether it's experience marketing, experimenting with digital platforms that we have not worked in the past. So media as a unit has been a big area of experimentation and learning for us. So it's a combination of all of these, and last but not the least, the passion that people bring to this business. I mean, we clearly call out that our purpose today is to bring joy in the life of our consumers. That joy comes sometimes in the shape of a 1 rupee candy, sometimes in the shape of a 10 rupee Mentos stick. But the end goal is uplift consumers 2 moments of joy during the day. So that passion is what the team is aligned on, and they bring it every day to the business, come up with new ideas, a lot of innovations, and that is what leads us to a successful outcome.
And coming to an end to it, Perfetti has been doing a lot of campaigns, have been investing very heavily on particularly the sub segments that it holds. And with the revenue of 3,200 crores, Perfetti definitely, we have seen all year, either it be the Center Fresh's overthinking report, or we see Chupa Chups campaign coming out, or the Center Fruits rural activation campaign. What do we look forward to in the next 5 months? 5 more months to go. What do we look forward to that?
Yeah, as I was saying, our consistent effort is to bring joy to consumers' life. It comes in various forms. There's a lot of innovation lined up for the back half of the year, a lot of new campaigns, a lot of exciting experiences and activations on some of these brands. So the only thing I can promise on camera is you'll not miss Perfetti brands in the next 5 months. There's a lot of exciting work that's coming. I hope you guys like it. I hope you like the products that we launch. I hope you like the product that are already launched, and you stay with us and you appreciate our efforts. And I hope you like the funny commercials that we do.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Khetan. Thank you for joining us.